Hi, my name is Paddy Hirsch. I'm a senior editor at Marketplace, and today I want to talk about financial alchemy, or the process of turning asset-backed trash into AAA rated treasure. Now, the reason we're talking about this is because recently we've seen an issuer of certain type of asset-backed security had their securities downgraded. Okay, so they were cut by Moody's from AAA to A3, a significant cut. But somehow they managed to come back to market with the same deal, just reconstituted slightly, so they were able to sell a bunch of those securities at AAA again. So it's a bit of a mystery, and so we thought we'd try and explain it to you. So here we go, financial alchemy. Okay, but rather than talking about the details of the deal, we thought we'd use an analogy, and we thought we'd talk about grape juice processing. Okay, so here's our grape juice processor. His name is Sam. Okay, and Sam has gone out and found a very special type of grape. Okay, he's discovered this magic grape that reconstitutes. So you crush the grape, you get juice out of it, and then over a month it kind of reconstitutes itself and swells back up again. At the end of that month, you can crush it again. So you can keep crushing these grapes for as many as 5 years. Okay, so he's gone out and he's decided to find some investors to help him put his crushing facility together to get the grape juice. And he's got 6 investors. Here they are. And these 6 investors have said, okay, we'll invest in your processing plant if you guarantee us a vat, okay, of grape juice at the end of every month. Okay, he says. So they send round the money. He goes out and he goes and buys a whole bunch of grapes, literally. Pops them into his processing plant. Okay, and at the end of every month, sure enough, he squashes the grapes, they get crushed down, and all the juice comes flowing out and flows into the buckets, if you like, of these various investors, okay, of these 6 investors. Okay, the investors are all very happy because they get a big vat of grape juice that they can then go and sell on in the open market, whether it be to vintners or to grape juice packagers, whatever it may be. But they have contracts and they make money on this deal. Now, these grapes are so juicy that what they actually do is they overflow these vats and they fill up this sort of a huge sort of vat that all these other vats are sitting in. And the excess grape juice, well, Sam gets to keep that, and then he can sell it off or drink it himself or whatever keeps him happy. Okay. Now, there's a grape juice manufacturer's ratings agency, okay, that comes and checks the value of these deals. And it has a look at the deal that the investors have put together with Sam, and it says, hey, you know what? These grapes are so good, and this facility functions so well that it's guaranteed every month that these guys are going to get paid. You know, that the facility is hermetically sealed, can't get any air in there, no problems at all. So, they're always going to be producing good juice for as long as their longevity. And these guys are guaranteed to get their money for the 5 years that they bought into the deal. So I'm going to rate this AAA, the highest I can give it. Okay, so there's its AAA rating. Now everyone's happy until disaster strikes. Perhaps a hole gets in the facility, or some mice get in there, or whatever it may be. But suddenly, part of the facility is invaded by rot, and a third of Sam's grapes are infected with this rot. Not noble rot, which could be a good thing, but just ordinary rot that's basically cancelled out their life. No longer can he press them and have them reconstitute. Only 2/3 of his grapes are now working correctly. So what does that mean? Well, it means that less juice is flowing out of the facility every month. Okay? So it means that it's highly unlikely that Sam's part of the bucket is going to get filled up, and it's getting less likely that each of these investors is going to get a full vat of grape juice. So the ratings agency comes and looks at this and says, oh, no way. With 1/3 of your grapes down, there's no way that these guys are now AAA. They're no longer guaranteed, so I'm going to downgrade you. Okay? So he downgrades the quality of the investment. Now, these investors look at this and say, well, this is unacceptable. We got into this because it was guaranteed, and we have responsibilities. We have to deliver certain amounts of grape juice to our clients. We can't be part of this system. We can't, only get 90% or 80% of a load. We need 100%. So what do? They sell their investments on to somebody else. They take the money, go elsewhere, and invest in somebody else's grape juice processor. Bad news for Sam, of course, because if he tries to set up another facility, nobody's going to want to get involved, because they can't trust him because he can't pick grapes properly. Okay, so Sam looks at this and says, well, how can how can I at least retain some of my investors? How can I at least keep some of these guys happy? Now, only a third of these grapes is no longer working. 2/3 are working fine, okay, which means, okay, that 2/3 of his investors should still win out if he redoes the system slightly differently. Okay, so what he does is he changes everything. All right? Okay. He decides to have 2 tiers of investors instead of just 1. Okay? So his first tier of investors is only 4 investors. Okay? Now because 2/3 of the grapes are producing, here we are, we flow out, that 2/3 is more than enough to satisfy or to fill the buckets of these 4 investors. Okay? There's going to be a little runoff still, just a little bit, and in comes the second tier of investors. Okay? Now it's a lot less likely that these investors here in the second tier are going to get filled up. And as for the bucket that lies underneath the whole thing, which is Sam's bucket, well, very unlikely indeed. But Sam's most interested in keeping this AAA rating. That's what's important to him, is to have that AAA rating. And indeed, the ratings agency comes and looks and says, yeah, 2/3 of your grapes are still working. That means that 2/3 of your investors in the top tier are going to get filled up. Yes, I can still see that guarantee works for those 4, no longer, because they're no longer 6. So yes, I'm going to give you that AAA rating back for those guys. But what about this second tier here? And what about this third tier here? Highly unlikely that these guys are going to get filled up. So what is Sam going to do with this level? Well, it may be that he just has to accept the risk himself. Maybe he has to become that investor. He has to put his own money into the system. Okay, maybe that's what he has to do, is swallow all of that risk. But it essentially means that because only 2/3 are working, he has to accept that these investors are not going to be guaranteed, and it's a much more risky investment at this level than it is at this level. And indeed, he may get some investors at this level, but he may have to surrender something in return for getting them in there, or he may take on board that risk himself, as I say. But of course, there is a problem again, because we have had this rot in the system. So if we want to bring it back and talk about the real life, the real deal that we're talking about, well, Sam is the bank that's put together, that has arranged, or the manager that has put together this asset-backed security, okay, this securitization facility. In actual fact, the case we're talking about is a collateralized loan obligation, where you bundle a bunch of loans. Okay, so these grapes equate to loans. Now, obviously, you squeeze a loan every month and it produces interest, because people pay interest on their bank loans, and that's the interest that's coming out. But as the economy has deteriorated, a number of those loans have kind of rotted, if you like. They've died, they've defaulted, and they're no longer paying interest. And as the economy continues to deteriorate, well, perhaps we see more loans deteriorating. Okay, maybe we see, another grape go down, and suddenly there's going to be less liquid, if you like, less grape juice or less cash flowing through the system. The number of loans throwing off interest is going to decrease, okay, which means less money flowing through the system, which means, again, less likelihood, okay, or more risky, it's more risky or less likely that this top layer of investors are actually going to get a full bucket. They're going to get their full whack of interest at the end of every month. So the ratings agency looks at this and says, as the economy continues to deteriorate, if these loans do start to go down, well, it means that, again, I'm going to have to downgrade you, which is going to leave these investors and Sam very badly needing a drink.